Okay, so we have been getting busy. Look at this. So we've got a big pile of random things we pulled out of the bushes here. We found these old pipes that were just rotted down in the wood, woody material behind all the grapevines. There's like 8 of them. All of this is a mix of honeysuckle and poison ivy. We have tons and tons and tons of poison ivy. So check this out. What's interesting about poison ivy, I'll find some for you. What's interesting about poison ivy is the way that it roots. If I can find a vine of poison ivy right here, it'll shoot out. That one's dead already, but it'll shoot out into a big run all the way across the open spaces, and then it'll shoot up. So we have, if you look, the camera can't do it really justice, but if you look at this, we have shoots of poison ivy coming up everywhere, all through here. In fall, it's really beautiful because the poison ivy all turns like this red, and so I saw it last year, and it all was just like this blanket of poison ivy, and it was really pretty. But it's not very fun to touch, play with, or step on. So in the process of getting all that, we're also finding a lot of cool native plants, and as well as a whole bunch of cool plants that were put here by the previous nursery. This, for example, is a massive grapevine. Look at this. It goes all the way up the tree, all the way to the very, very tippy top, way, way up there, comes all the way back down here, and then we get more of it here. And you can see, if you follow this grapevine down, look how thick that native stalk is. That original trunk. What's really, the reason I'm kind of excited about it is because if this were wild grape, like muscadine, it'd be like this, it'd be all over the place. But I don't think it is, because this previous nursery that they had in here, they built this trellis all the way across, and despite the overgrowth and the craziness under here, there's actually a pattern to the placement of the original roots or the original trunk of all of these grapevines. So we've got one at the start of the trellis, come a little bit further in. We've got another one planted here, come a little bit further in. We got another one planted here. Actually, I think there's one planted right there too. So they basically went 1, 2, 3, 4 across this trellis. That leads me to believe it's a cultivated variety, which has me super excited because that's old. These are old grapevines. These are years of growth. So for that to be here, that's like a huge blessing, to have something that has been growing like this for years. Now, because it's wild and crazy, probably won't get any grapes off of it. So we'll prune it back, then we're gonna get a ton of grapes off of it. So that's my hope, right? I'm crossing my finger. So we have this contrast between the negative things that we're dealing with and this really nasty stuff. Probably gotta throw my gloves away. I'm touching my tools. I got poison ivy oil. Poison ivy, the oil is in the root as well as the plant. Because everything's dormant right now, it's a little bit less likely to be there in contact with our hands and stuff, but we're absolutely touching it. So it's just better safe than sorry. And you don't need to be scared of poison ivy. It's a quick fix. Don't use hot water when you're taking it off. Use cold water and a wet rag and Dawn dish soap. Scrub the rag. Use an actual rag. If you don't use a rag, you're gonna miss it. Like, the rag is the trick. You're scrubbing the oil off of your body, and then once it's all cleaned up, then you can go use the Dawn dish soap and warm water and get the remaining little bits and pieces off of you. Get out of your fingernails and stuff like that. But then you won't ever experience an itch. And I'm very allergic. I only know this because the first time at Lulu's garden, we cleared out a patch where I didn't see any poison ivy, and it ended up completely overcoming my whole body. It was on my arms, down my legs and everything, and I had no idea. I was rolling around in it for 2 days. So now I know, lessons learned. The rag trick is all you need. It solves the problem. But going into this is gonna be a lot of fun. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna find all these stems, and I'm gonna cut them back, and then I'm gonna drop them, the cuttings, into that side there. And we're going to try and save as much of the newest growth as we can, like right here, for making grapevine cuttings, and in about 2 to 3 months we'll have rooted cuttings. We'll have a ton of them. And then when this starts to grow, and if we find out it's actually a cultivated variety, by the time it starts to produce fruit, we'll know, hey, that's one that we actually want to do something with. We'll have a whole bunch of cuttings. And then we can actually offer that to you, or we can propagate that at the other rural hub location. Now, the catch here is that if we do all that work and we find out it's just muscadine, well, that would suck. But muscadine's not bad either. It's a lot of people in permaculture properties actually use muscadine and they go out and forage it. But for something with such a small space, like do a panorama here, show them just how much small space we have. We gotta get maximum production from every ounce of this property as we can. So we gotta do it nature friendly. We gotta let nature run its course. But we also don't want to let species that can't contribute to the system, that just are here, like the honeysuckle, starving out all these other species. We can't let them take root and take up that space, because we just don't have the space to volunteer for it. So if this were a larger acreage parcel, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but because it's so knit and tight, we really do need to be productive as possible. So I'm hoping it's not muscadine. But in the meantime, we're getting some cool things planted. We'll show you this over here. So we don't have to do a lot to prep the soil because it's been dormant for so long. It's really beautiful soil. So we got some starts from the other Lulu's garden. This is some strawberry, everbearing, and Junebearing mixed together. Then we got some onion in the back, and we actually got a couple of them up here as well. If you come over this way, we found what I was assuming was oh, I don't remember what it is. It's a plant. It's in the ground. I don't remember what it is, but it's like a parsley, I think. But then where all these sticks are coming out of the ground right here, we actually planted in some asparagus. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 and 7 and 8 asparagus planted in seed right here. And then over on this side, I happened to find a stray rhubarb. So we went ahead and just planted the rhubarb here. Now do a little step back here so you can get the full view of what we're doing. This is totally wild. This is not major labor intensive prep work. We're not doing anything crazy. Nature's already done the hard work for us in fertilizing this place over years and years of leaf drop. Pound for pound, leaves are 5 times more nutrient dense than manure. So while we're in here planting, we've already got rich soil to start. Now, if this were in your situation where you had really bad soil to start, you're probably going to want to bring some in. Start with a really rich compost or leaf mold if you have it, and then mulch over the top of that with wood chips like we have here. We got a nice big truck bed of wood chips. That's going to supplement the mulch layers where the leaves aren't going to be sufficient. So we've got plenty of that prepped and ready to move. As soon as we get the ground ready and all of the invasive species out of here, we'll go back through with the species we prefer and that benefit the ecosystem, and then mulch it all over with the wood chips. We got ourselves a nice 4x4 raised garden bed we built for, what?
It's 4x8.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4x8 raised garden bed we built, 3 years ago? Something like that. This is 3 years old, 4x4 cedar, and hand built this with Leo.
4x8.
4x4 cedar wood. This is 4x4 wood.
Yes. I got you.
4x4 post. 4x4x8. Does that make you feel better? And
by 16.
Yeah, and we did, I think 24 inches or 16 inches?
16.
You know better than me.
4 times 4.
Okay. All right, 16-inch tall. And then we, on the way home from getting all this stuff, so let me finish the story on this actually. Leo helped me build this. Leo, Xavi, Rizzy holding the camera. We put together 10 of these raised beds for the local church initiative here. What was interesting is when the church initiative distributed the garden beds and they were no longer doing the community garden, we ended up getting one of the garden beds. So I'm super excited because not only is this one of the original garden beds from way back when all of this started on Lulu Street and we first started offering our garden beds to the public, but then we went to Lulu Street to the old Lulu's garden and we asked the people that bought the property from us if we could go through the property and take some cuttings and some starts from the property. So check this out. We got iris, chocolate mint, strawberry, onion, garlic. This is a sage. We've got some cuttings from the apple trees. We've got a bunch of phlox over here. We got some lilies. Like there's a whole bunch of really cool plants all gathered up right here. And it's not a whole lot. We could have went through the property and really done a number of gathering and pruning. It's kind of like wild foraging, but we didn't want to be too invasive of our own, you know what I mean? They're super excited to get a good harvest this year. Their tree trunks now are like 5 years old and thick, looking really good. Also got some yarrow in here. So it's really cool to be able to say that we're starting the new Lulus garden with remnants of the past Lulus garden. I think that's awesome. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update. There's lots of things happening here, and we're just kind of going around. We're finding out what's native and what do we need to propagate, what do we need to remove, what's invasive, and we're doing it here as a family. It's making it a real project. And so yes, there's been some struggle involved with this process, but it's also one of those things that's very healing. It's kind of given us some closure at the same time with the way that we left the old Lulus garden. And then at the same time, what we're doing here is setting the stage for what we're going to be doing on this 16-acre plot tomorrow morning with our good friends and new partners, the Seeley family. So stay tuned and we'll get you some info on that.